There was a stretch of time, a few million years long, when two very different sharks swam in the same oceans. One of them was about 6 meters long and weighed around 2 tons. The other one reached 16 meters, weighed more than 60 tons, kept its body warm in cold water, and lived everywhere from the coast of the Netherlands to the shores of New Zealand. They ate the same things. We can prove that because paleontologists have found the bite marks of both animals on fossils of the same species of whale. Then, about 3.6 million years ago, one of those two sharks vanished from the fossil record completely and permanently. It was not the small one. The small one is still here. You know its name. It has barely changed. And the largest shark that has ever existed, an animal with no natural enemies and a global address, is gone so thoroughly that we have never found a single complete skeleton of it. So this is the question. If the great white made it, why didn't Megalodon? The answer is not the Ice Age. That explanation is popular, it is everywhere, and it has been tested, and it failed. The answer is also not a duel. There was never a fight between an adult Megalodon and an adult great white, and if there had been, the great white would have lost badly. What actually happened took place somewhere nobody thinks to look, and once you see it, the phrase apex predator starts to sound less like a title and more like a warning. And there is one more thing. The proof that Megalodon is truly gone is not just an absence in the rock. It is written into the body of the largest animal that has ever lived on this planet. We will get to that at the end. First, we have to correct something that almost everyone believes. Megalodon was not a giant great white shark. When those teeth were first formally described in 1835, the resemblance was too strong to ignore. Big, triangular, coarsely serrated, built for cutting. They looked like great white teeth that had been left in the sun and allowed to grow. So Megalodon was filed alongside the great white, and it stayed there for well over a century. Then, people looked more carefully, particularly at the structure around the root of the tooth, and the picture changed. Today, most specialists place Megalodon in a completely separate family, the Ottodontidae, the megatooth sharks, a lineage that produced a series of increasingly enormous predators over tens of millions of years, and then ended. Every member of that family is extinct. There is no living one. So, Megalodon is not the great white's ancestor. It is not the great white grown large. It is a cousin from a different branch that happened to arrive at a similar solution, which in biology is not a coincidence at all. It usually means both animals were solving the same problem. Here is the other thing worth knowing before we go further. A shark's skeleton is cartilage, and cartilage almost never fossilizes, so we have no complete Megalodon. What we have is teeth, in enormous numbers, and a handful of vertebrae, and that is essentially the entire physical record of the biggest predatory fish that ever lived. Everything you have ever seen of Megalodon is a reconstruction built out of the things it threw away. Which makes the reconstructions we do have remarkable. In 2022, A team led by researchers at Swansea University and the Royal Veterinary College built the most complete three-dimensional model of Megalodon anyone had attempted. They started from a fossilized vertebral column held at the Royal Belgian Institute of Natural Sciences from an animal that had died at roughly 46 years old in the Miocene seas over what is now Belgium. They scanned the vertebrae. They scaled a set of teeth to match. They filled in the rest using the anatomy of living sharks, and then they ran the numbers. 16 meters long, more than 61 tons, a stomach with a volume of around 10,000 liters, which is roughly the size of a small swimming pool. A cruising speed, a little over 1 meter per second, which does not sound fast until you remember what is doing the cruising. And prey. The model concluded that an animal this size could swallow something 8 meters long whole. Not bite it, swallow it. That is a prey animal the size of an adult killer whale going down in one piece. The teeth that did the work reached about 18 centimeters, roughly 7 inches, along the diagonal. Hold your hand up and spread your fingers. That is one tooth. Now put the great white beside that. 6 meters at the very top end, about 2 tons. No confirmed specimen has ever exceeded about 6.1 meters. Megalodon was not a bigger version of the great white. It was a different order of object. But the model produced one more number, and that number is the one this entire story turns on. To keep a body like that running, Megalodon needed something in the region of 100,000 kilocalories every single day. Sit with that. A human adult needs about 2,000. This animal needed roughly 50 times that every day for a lifetime that ran for decades, with no days off, no hibernation, and no option to eat less. Remember that number. We are coming back to it. So how does anything get that large in the first place? It does not happen because being big is inherently good. It happens because something else got big first. Toward the end of the age of dinosaurs and into the period that followed, plate tectonics threw up new mountain ranges across North America and Asia. Mountains erode. Rivers carried the eroded material into the sea, and that material was loaded with nutrients. Coastal waters became extraordinarily productive. Plankton bloomed, and the animals that had recently moved into the ocean and were busy turning into whales, dolphins, and seals found themselves in an all-you-can-eat situation. Marine mammals are the richest food in the sea. They carry thick fat layers, and fat is where the calories are. Any predator that could reliably catch one had access to a fuel source nothing else could touch. So marine mammals got bigger because there was food, and the megatooth sharks got bigger because the marine mammals did. Over roughly 20 million years, both sides of that relationship roughly doubled. Megalodon shows up in the fossil record around 23 million years ago, and it does something none of its ancestors managed. It grows faster. Fossil nurseries have produced newborn Megalodon teeth, and the babies were already around 2 meters long at birth. That is a newborn the size of an adult shark of most species, and shark vertebrae lay down growth rings, like tree rings, so we can read how quickly individuals grew. Megalodon grew close to twice as fast as its own ancestors did. Then, in 2023, a study came along that reframed the whole animal. Researchers analyzed carbon and oxygen isotopes locked inside Megalodon tooth enamel, gathered from 5 sites around the world. Those isotopes act as a thermometer that has been running for millions of years, and reading it tells you how warm the animal's body was when the tooth formed. The answer was that Megalodon held its body about 7 degrees Celsius, roughly 13 degrees Fahrenheit, above the water around it. Megalodon was warm-blooded, not fully the way a whale is, but well beyond an ordinary fish. That single fact explains the map. It explains why Megalodon teeth turn up on 6 continents, in tropical shallows and in cold northern seas. A warm body means faster muscles, faster digestion, and the ability to work in water that would slow a cold-bodied predator to a crawl. It was the superpower. It was also an invoice, and the bill arrived every day. We know exactly what it spent that energy on, because it left the receipts. Megalodon teeth have been found embedded in the ribs of fossil whales. They have been found in the bones of a seal-sized animal. In one case from Peru, a tooth was left inside the body of a small baleen whale only a few meters long and stayed there while the whole thing turned to stone. And Megalodon was not even the only monster in that water. In 2010, paleontologists working the Pisco Formation in Peru described a sperm whale that lived around 9 million years ago and named it Leviathan melvillei, after the Leviathan and after the author of Moby Dick. It reached somewhere between 13 and 17 meters, and unlike modern sperm whales, which suck up squid, this one had short, powerful jaws and teeth up to 36 centimeters long, over 14 inches. They are the largest biting teeth known from any animal ever. It ate whales. Megalodon shared an ocean with a whale that hunted whales. That was the world Megalodon was built for. Warm, crowded, dangerous, and absolutely stuffed with fat, slow, medium-sized whales. Then that world came apart, and the first suspect everybody reaches for is the ice. The story goes like this. Around the end of the Pliocene, global temperatures dropped and the ice ages began. Megalodon was a warm water animal. The seas got cold, its prey moved toward the poles, and the giant tropical shark could not follow. It is a tidy story. It is also, as far as we can tell, wrong. A team led by Catalina Pimiento tested exactly that assumption. They reconstructed sea temperatures for the periods when Megalodon was alive and compared them against every location where its fossils have been found. Megalodon preferred water somewhere between about 12 and 27 degrees Celsius, but its teeth have been recovered from places where the water was as cold as 1 degree. It was not confined to the tropics, and once you know it was warm-bodied, that makes complete sense. Megalodon did not freeze to death, so we need a better answer, and the better answer starts with what happened to dinner. Between about 3 and 2 million years ago, the oceans went through an extinction event that almost nobody has heard of. Roughly a third of all marine megafauna genera disappeared. Marine mammals lost around 55% of their diversity. Sea turtles lost about 43% of their species. Seabirds lost around 35%. Sharks lost about 9%. The trigger was not primarily temperature, it was geography. Sea levels swung violently, and every time they did, the shallow coastal shelves flooded or drained. Those shelves were the most productive habitat in the ocean, and they were being repeatedly wiped out and rebuilt. And here is the detail that matters most. When researchers looked at which animals died, one pattern stood out. Warm-blooded species were hit hardest. An animal that keeps itself warm cannot reduce its fuel bill when the food runs short. It pays the same price in a famine that it paid in a boom. Megalodon was warm-bodied, enormous, and needed 100,000 kilocalories a day out of an ocean that had just lost more than half of its marine mammal diversity. That is bad, but it is still not the thing that killed it. For that, we have to go to a place in Panama. In the Gatan Formation, in rock about 10 million years old, researchers recovered a set of megalodon teeth that did not look like a normal sample. Of 28 teeth, 21 came from juveniles. The estimated body lengths ran from about 2 meters up to 10.5. The water there had been shallow, around 25 meters deep, and that shallow water sat in a strait, a seaway that still connected the Pacific to the Caribbean. What they had found was a nursery. For at least 10 million years, megalodon mothers had been doing something that sounds almost tender for an animal of that description. They were leaving their young in warm, shallow, protected coastal water, where there was plenty of small prey and nothing large enough to threaten them. Another nursery site was later identified in Spain. There were probably many more. Because here is the uncomfortable truth about being a baby megalodon. You are 2 meters long, and you are surrounded by an ocean full of things that would happily eat a 2-meter shark. Your parents cannot protect you. They are not even there. All you have is the shallow water itself. Now hold that image, because everything comes together here. In 2019, a team re-examined the extinction date. The figure most people had been using was 2.6 million years, and you will still see it repeated in older documentaries and articles. They went through the fossil records one by one, threw out the specimens with bad provenance, poor dating, or misidentification, and reran the analysis. The date moved almost 1 million years earlier to about 3.6 million years ago. And that new date matters enormously because of what else was happening at exactly that moment. The modern great white shark had just arrived. Its immediate predecessor had appeared in the late Miocene, and by the early Pliocene, the great white we know today was in the water, smaller, faster, cheaper to run, highly maneuverable, and crucially, it was hunting the same warm-blooded, fatty prey in the same shallow coastal water, with newly refined, serrated teeth built to cut it. Now put a great white next to an adult megalodon. It is not a contest. The great white is a snack. But do not put it next to an adult. Put it next to a juvenile. A newborn megalodon is 2 meters. A young one is 4, 6, 8 meters, which means that for the first 2 decades of its life, a megalodon was exactly great white sized, living in exactly great white habitat, hunting exactly great white food, and it was the slower, clumsier, more expensive of the 2 animals in that comparison. That is the answer. Megalodon was never beaten as an adult. Nothing in the ocean could beat an adult megalodon. It was beaten as a child. Its nurseries sat on shallow coastal shelves, and violent sea level swings were destroying those shelves. Its food supply was collapsing, and the shallow water that remained now had a smaller, faster, hungrier shark in it, one that could live on a fraction of the calories and did not need a whale to get through the week. You do not have to kill the adults of a species to end it. You only have to make it hard enough to be young. And that is why the great white is still here. Not because it was better, because it was cheaper. A great white can eat a seal. It can eat fish. It can eat a dolphin, or a dead whale it did not kill, or a sea turtle, or another shark. When the ocean gets poor, it eats less, and it eats worse, and it keeps going. Megalodon could not do that. Its body was a bet placed over 20 million years on one particular ocean, an ocean full of medium-sized whales and warm, productive shelves and safe, shallow nurseries. Every one of those things was taken away inside a few million years. An animal can change its behavior in a single generation. It cannot change its body. Megalodon had no lower gear. Which brings us to the thing people always want to ask, so let us deal with it properly. It is not still down there. The reason we can be so confident is the same reason we know anything about it at all. Sharks shed teeth continuously, replacing them throughout their lives, thousands of them per animal. Teeth are made of the hardest material a vertebrate produces, and they fossilize beautifully. That is why Megalodon teeth are among the most commonly found large vertebrate fossils on Earth. They turn up on 6 continents. There is a functioning global market in them. This animal spent 20 million years scattering evidence of itself across the seafloor of the entire planet. And then, about 3.6 million years ago, that stops completely. Not thins out, stops. There is also the habitat problem. Megalodon was a shallow, coastal, warm-bodied animal. It was not built for the abyss, and the deep sea is the least productive environment in the ocean. There is nothing down there capable of supplying 100,000 kilocalories a day to a 60-ton predator. The deep sea is where you go to eat almost nothing, very slowly. And finally, we would see it in the bodies of living whales. We document bite marks from every predator that attacks large whales. Nothing has ever left a mark like that. Which leaves one last piece of evidence. and it is the strangest one. Go back to the very beginning of this video, where I said the proof is written into the largest animal that has ever lived. Baleen whales were not always giants. For most of their 30 million year history, they were moderate animals, a few meters to maybe 10. Whales longer than 10 meters only begin appearing around 4.5 million years ago, and true gigantism, the scale we see today, arrives roughly 2 to 3 million years ago. The blue whale is a recent invention. In evolutionary terms, it is almost brand new. Two things had to become true for that to happen. The first was food. As the ice ages set in, glacial runoff started dumping nutrients into coastal waters seasonally, which concentrated prey into dense patches instead of spreading it thinly through the ocean. Filter feeding gets more efficient the bigger you are, and suddenly there was something worth being big for. The second thing was that nothing was left that could eat you at that size. Megalodon could swallow an 8-meter animal whole. As long as it existed, there was a hard ceiling on how large a whale could get before it hit the point of being worth hunting. Remove that animal and the ceiling comes off. Baleen whale gigantism appears immediately after Megalodon disappears. The largest animal that has ever existed on this planet is standing in the empty space left by the largest predator that ever existed. The blue whale is not just a whale. It is a monument, and it is shaped like an absence. So could it happen again? Honestly, the ingredients are on the table. The super predator niche has been empty for over 3 million years. Whales today are enormous and face almost nothing that hunts them. And modern great whites are already slightly larger than their Miocene ancestors were, and they grow a little faster when young, which is exactly the pattern Megalodon showed on its own way up. But it took the megatooth sharks something like 20 million years of a stable, rich, whale-filled ocean to build a Megalodon. Evolution at that scale needs time, and it needs abundance. And right now, we are the reason the ocean has less of both. So here is what I would take away from all of this. Being the biggest thing in an ecosystem is not a rank. It is a subscription, and the fee is due every single day. And it can only be paid by a world that keeps producing exactly the food you were built for. Megalodon paid that fee for 20 million years without missing once. Then, the ocean stopped offering the plan. The great white survived by never committing that hard in the first place. It stayed small enough to be flexible, cheap enough to be patient, and ordinary enough to be lucky. And the next time you see footage of a blue whale, remember what had to disappear in order to make room for it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you for watching, and thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. If there is another extinct animal you want me to take apart like this, or a living one, or honestly, any topic you have been curious about, put it in the comments. I read them, and I am always hunting for the next idea. And if you are not done yet, there is another video, just like this one, waiting on your screen right now. Go ahead and start it.